Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Tommy here from saleslucky.com, and today we are going to be talking about a topic that's super important in sales, a very foundational pillar in sales, and it's called active listening. Okay, so first off, what is active listening? Active listening is when when you as the salesperson or you're listening to somebody and you're listening with intent. You put 100% of your attention on the person speaking. You're not thinking about what to say next. You're not um, in your own head, and you're demonstrating that you are listening with the intention of understanding what they're saying. So you're not just listening just to listen, you're listening with the intention to understand. You're seeking to understand. And along with that, there's also verbal and physical cues that you would give the speaker to let them know that you're actively listening. So what are some of those things? So those things could be, head bobs, head nods, as you're listening in person. They can be things like, uh-huh, interesting, uh-huh, things like that as the person is speaking. uh, you're demonstrating things like that because you're demonstrating that you're actually listening. I mean, let me step back for a moment. Okay, so these things that I'm sharing with you, these verbal cues or head nods, they shouldn't be done as quote unquote tactics. These things should be natural if you're actually listening to the other person, right? So if you're really listening intently and you care about what your prospect is saying, you're gonna have things like that. You're gonna say things like, interesting. Huh. How so? Wow. Okay. Right? Because these things come up naturally as we're speaking in conversation and as we are listening. So I think one of the biggest challenges for new salespeople is that they feel like they have to do all the talking, and they might feel anxious because they don't know what to say, uh, or whatever it might be. But the thing about good salespeople and experienced and great salespeople is that they don't do a lot of the talking. They actually do more of the listening. So people who haven't been in sales a lot or are newer in sales, they think that a salesperson is somebody that has to do all the talking, is the one that has to be the fast talker, the slick talker, and it's just not true. I talk a lot about how experienced salespeople, good salespeople, actually do more of the listening. They ask questions and then they listen. They shut up and they listen, right? So as you're listening, it's important to pay 100% of your attention on the speaker, not try to think about what you're going to say next, not think about what you're having for dinner, not think about other stuff and just waiting for your prospect to stop talking so you could talk again. No, no, no. You want to genuinely pay attention, genuinely seek to understand what they're talking about. Um, you know, a good exercise to do for this is, if imagine actually, I would recommend doing this with someone else. It's a great exercise. I've done it in other kind of personal development circles. It's where you and a partner stand face to face in front of each other, and you look into each other's eyes. I know it sounds a bit silly, but follow me here. You look into each other's eyes and you literally imagine what it would be like if you were the only two people left in this world. Imagine that the both of you were stuck on a stranded island. There were no other human beings in this world, and you knew that the both of you were going to die after that day. How would you pay attention to the other person? How would you give your attention to the other person? How would you notice the nuances in their expressions, in what they're feeling, in the things that they're telling you? And for the exercise, I highly recommend you doing this. Imagine that. And then for the exercise, I want one person to ask a question and the other person to respond, okay? And the questions are going to be like deep questions. Like, for example, what are you most excited about in your life right now? And then that person will answer. And while they answer, you pay 100% of your attention on that person. Notice everything about them. Notice the way their intonation changes. Notice the feeling that they're emoting. Notice their words. Notice the nuances. And then they ask that question. You answer. And that person listens, okay? And then ask them another question like, what are you scared of right now? Again, these are going to be, it might sound a little bit hokey pokey, but trust me, okay? These questions that get to emotional cores of ourselves are really what you ought to be looking for in a sales conversation. Even if it's like selling IBM or you're selling a software, whatever it might be, you're looking for emotional cues. People buy off emotion and justify off logic, okay? So I highly recommend that exercise. I think it'll change the way that you might understand listening. And throughout that exercise, lock eyes, look into the other person's eyes, and I think again, it just might change your understanding of how deeply you can understand somebody and their responses when you're truly paying attention and listening. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to talk about with you guys was, in sales, it's the least persuasive form of sales is telling somebody. Okay. For example, if I'm talking to my buddy and I'm like, "Hey man, you have to watch this new movie. You have to watch the new Spider-Man movie. It is awesome. I think it's fucking awesome. You need to watch it. It is dope." They may or may not like those kinds of movies. So if you tell them, they might say yes, or they might not agree with you. They might argue with you. We're telling them your perspective. That's not their perspective. But if you ask questions and you listened, you can be more persuasive. So what you want to do is, ask somebody like, "Hey man, curious dude, what kind of movies do you like to watch?" "Oh, I really, I really like to watch superhero movies. I really like to watch action movies." And then you can ask them, interesting. Tell me more. Why is that? And then they can be like, "Well, I love the CGI graphics. I love just the action. It gets me all excited. I love seeing these superheroes in movies because, growing up as a kid, I would watch them as cartoons, and now it's so cool to see them as like real people and real superheroes on the live screen." And then, having an understanding of what they said they liked and paying full attention, doing active listening, you can then recommend something that aligns with what they told you. So then you can recommend them, "Hey, that's awesome, man. I know you talked about how you love superhero movies because they have CGI graphics and how you watched them as a kid, and now that you're an adult, you love seeing these movies on the big screen like they're real superheroes. Dude, have you heard about the new Spider-Man movie that came out? They have awesome graphics in that movie. I went to see it the other week, and dude, I felt the same way, man. Like, it's so cool seeing what was in comic books up on the big screen as real characters." What do you think would be more persuasive, the first example or the second? The second one, right? Because what we're doing is we're seeking to understand what that person already cares about. And once we've heard from that person, then we just make a proposition, share something that aligns with what they're already looking for, as opposed to try to like jam our will down their another person's throat, right? There's a quote that I got from Tony Robbins. He says, to influence somebody, you must already know what influences them. And the final note I'll leave you guys with, I know you guys are very ambitious and driven. That's why you're watching this blog and this video right now. So I know what you want to do is really practice active listening, because that is a core, absolutely foundational skill set in sales. And when you learn to listen, you realize that it's not really about knowing what to say, but more really what questions to ask, and then listen from there. And the final note I'll say is that, by listening, you also demonstrate that you care and that you build trust, and you're able to build trust, and you can build rapport that way. So all things that are very critical in sales. Hope you guys got value out of this video. Please share it if you liked it, and hope to see you guys soon.